Hey, you, get over here. Let me tell you something. There is no secret.
Hello and welcome to the Durham Talents channel. My name is Jesse Durham. Welcome to the show. Today we are here to demystify what is promulgated in the financial entertainment world as the secrets of the wealthy, where you can pay memberships and buy things. And I'm not here to disparage anyone from building a business, providing a service, value, etc. But what I am here to say, much like Nash did in his Becoming Your Own Banker book, that the idea, the concept of you becoming your own banker and me becoming my own banker, it's the most simple thing. Yes, it's a paradigm shift, but it's the most simple thing. So today we're here to demystify a lot of what can be found out in the internet ether on the subject of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, practicing privatized family banking. So let's start with the book itself. For $20-something, you can go out and read this book that is the book that was written by the man who came up with the idea. And I know that there are those even that would disparage Nash and maybe halfway give credit. And, what I would like to point out is that he himself says that the idea of owning and even borrowing against whole life insurance had been done over and over and over again. And you can look up folks if your grandparents didn't even do that very same thing. But the Disneys of the world, or the J.C. Penney's, and lots of other examples. But what he added and what he brought to the table was scale. These appreciating assets of whole life policies that have been properly structured for the banking purpose, with mutual companies that pay a dividend, had never before been used as a privatized banking system for an individual's need for finance, or for a business's need of finance, or for an investor's need of finance, or fill in the blank. The banking function is always taking place. It's just a question of, are we conventionally performing banking by borrowing someone else's money on their terms and conditions, paying them that principal and interest and profit and everything else back to them? Interest dollars that forever leave us, that are being bled out, that leave what could be our private system. Or do we amass our capital somewhere and forfeit the opportunity to have earned on that capital? The EVA, the economic value that could have been added, economic value added to our capital, because it's been locked away somewhere where there are penalties and barriers and fees, because those are the only two ways that we can conventionally finance. And what Nash added was scale to this idea of borrowing from whole life insurance. And he did it in a very, very simple way. So we're going to continue to demystify the secret. It makes me think of the Matrix movie, where there's that line of, there is no spoon. Much like I'm saying here, there is no secret. Life insurance has been around for hundreds of years. Whole life insurance products with the companies, and I'm not married to any one particular company. I personally own multiple policies with multiple companies. But again, they are mutual companies that pay dividends, and they've been around for over 100 years, consecutively paying dividends. So these are old companies, and there's nothing secret about who they are. There are several. There's a handful of these mutual companies that have these products, these even up to 121-year policies. These whole life products. It's not a new product. These are not new companies. The idea of borrowing against whole life insurance is not new. So Not secret, not secret, not secret. And now you can read the book just like I did. I read the book first in 2015. And then from then, my wife and I, we have systematically bought and used these whole life policies that we privately own and control, practicing banking for ourselves, for our need of finance, for our vacations and vehicles and the student loan debt that we used to have, and all these different things that we do in life and in business. There's no secret to the book. You can read 92 pages of large print, and it's chock full of illustrations. It's a very simple read about a very simple idea, and yet it is a paradigm shift. And that's where I could reference, the popular culture movie, The Matrix, again, because it's a shifting of our actual paradigm. The things, Nash would say, most people's understanding of insurance is based off of someone else's misunderstanding of insurance. And it was Will Rogers that would say the problem with Americans isn't so much what we don't know, but what we think we know that just ain't so. So we're going to be addressing and demystifying the idea that you can become your own banker, or the idea of infinite banking, by pointing to the book written by the man that you can read. And you can read his second book, Building Your Warehouse of Wealth. You can obviously listen to the hours upon hours of information right here on our channel, where I'm actively, regularly, consistently sharing my absolute best practices, the nuts and bolts on how to implement the infinite banking concept into your household or your business or your investing. For 5 easy payments of $19.99, you can be on your way to becoming your own banker. Just buy this coffee, t-shirt, mug. I actually really hate this saying of the secret, and I hate that verbiage of the secret of the rich and the wealthy. Now, I'm not saying that we can't have different level of conversations where we're not discussing sports teams and the weather, and I love serious conversation. I love talking about impactful, intentional, purposeful things. So, are the rich and the wealthy having different kinds of conversations than many, perhaps? I can see that. But the idea of, having to buy things, and again, I use cups, I wear shirts, I have subscriptions and memberships and things that I buy as a consumer. But what I'm saying is you could start from scratch, just like I did, by hearing the words, becoming your own banker, from a friend on a phone call. And then you can go out and buy the book and read for yourself what the thing is all about. And you can go through your vetting process. I've even done a video on how I think that you could go about vetting and investigating and learning more and educating yourself on the idea of becoming your own banker. It's on the channel. I encourage you to check that out. But you can read Nash's book. You can read his second book, Building Your Warehouse of Wealth. You can have a webinar like I did to look at your specific situation. You can have a phone call like I did. You could ask questions like I did. You can learn and investigate and vet this idea for yourself to see what it is, how you could implement it. And of course, that's everything that we're doing on this video and on this channel. We're demystifying, we're taking away the mystery, we're trying to avoid the misinformation that is out there, because there are plenty of folks that in the financial entertainment world speak about insurance and banking and different things that are relevant to this discussion. But again, is their understanding not even just based off of someone else's misunderstanding? So I hate that saying we're demystifying anything about the secret of infinite banking, or the secret of what it means to become your own banker. Again, Scripture says that there's nothing new under the sun. And I mention that because, again, these are very long-range products. I personally own policies that are 121-year policies. Now, that is very long-range thinking. That's not get rich quick. That's not a scheme. That's not a scam. That is a very regulated product, for one thing. I mean, look up your state's department, here in my state of North Carolina, Department of Insurance. I mean, the governmental websites and everything. So it's a regulated product in a regulated industry. These are very old companies. These are very long-lasting products. They're meant to last a lifetime. And again, at the maturation of a policy, there's a tax-free transfer of wealth for those that are systematically protecting their lives and mitigating that risk by just simply owning whole life insurance. But furthermore, that's been properly structured for the banking purpose, have the use of this system of policies over their lifetime for their needs of finance. But then ultimately, there's a tax-free transfer of wealth as well. There's no mystery there. It's whole life insurance. It should be properly structured. It should be with a good mutual company that has consistently and consecutively paid dividends for well over 100 years. And I personally own multiple policies with multiple companies that meet those criteria. And one other thing that I would say about Nash, R. Nelson Nash, and him writing the book, Becoming Your Own Banker, was that, and he says it in the book, that this has not been written, to be a sales gimmick. This idea of infinite banking, it's not a sales gimmick. It's not a method to be able to increase an agent's selling or anything of that matter. Rather, he wrote the book for the consumer because the focus is on who controls the banking function in your life. And if there were a way that you could control your need of finance for your educations and your families and your businesses and your investments, right? Educations, vacations, medications, vehicles, homes, business equipment, engagement rings, honeymoons, motorcycles, four-wheelers, ATVs, fill in the blank. Whatever it is that you are doing, your need of finance, who controls the banking function in your life, Nash wrote the book, Becoming Your Own Banker, for the consumer, for the average American. Now, he does say that the agent and the advisor should be reading and learning and continuing their own education about just what you can do with whole life insurance, to be sure. And that matters for you if you are vetting and investigating this idea. If you personally know me and you're watching this channel and you're trying to learn from this channel, it does matter which company you buy policies with. It does matter how policies are structured. It does matter who your agent or your advisor is. And it matters if that agent or advisor that you're considering or that you have, it matters if they're actually practicing the infinite banking concept in their lives. It matters if they have, read the book and they're implementing what's in Nash's book. If they're paying significant premiums, if they own policies with the companies that they're representing. So again, when I mention that Scripture says that there's nothing new under the sun, that's in Ecclesiastes, it reminds me of something from Nash's book where he talks about young Carl Goss, who at a very young age discovered a mathematical relationship, a fixed relationship in mathematics. I'm just speaking about numbers here. Go and read or reread that, if you will. But it already existed, that fixed relationship. And basically, Carl was just doing math in his head that, most, like myself, would have probably had to have written out and used a calculator and all these other things to get to an answer, whereas he, with his imagination, was able to think through the process. And he just noticed that there was a fixed relationship that sped up that process, that made it easier for him to be able to do just right in his head. So there's nothing new under the sun. So again, these companies, these policies, very old companies, long-range products that you can privately own and control. There's nothing mystical about it. There's nothing secret about it. And I'm an open book, as for myself. I ask regularly that if you're investigating this idea, that if you're vetting this idea, line up a webinar with me. Let's have a phone call and look at your exact situation. The only question that's the wrong question is the one that's not asked. That might be my teacher background coming out in me. I'm a former high school Spanish teacher, and I was, very, very open to questions, an active listener, an active participant in their education that's asking questions is going to make progress more readily, to be sure. It's simply this. You can become your own banker. I did. And it's a process. I'm not saying this is an overnight thing, but can you overnight, or pretty doggone close to overnight, begin on your journey to become your own banker? Absolutely. Because the banking function just is. You can bank with anything. And we already are banking. We're conventionally banking. We're practically born into and systematized, conditioned to practice conventional banking, where we're bleeding out interest dollars for our lifetime, and then we're setting up our children and generations to come to do the exact same thing. Every time that we move, every time that we refinance, that's all money that forever leaves our family or our business or our portfolio if we're investing. Whereas I'm here to promote the idea that you can become your own banker. It's not mystical. It's not mysterious. If it's the first time you've heard of it before, okay. There was a first time that I'd heard about infinite banking or becoming my own banker. But then I got to read the actual book. You can just go and read the actual book. Read the book. Call me. Let's have a webinar. If you're local, let's grab a bite to eat. Let's have a cup of coffee. You're already conventionally financing. And if you are, you're a slave. You are a slave and a servant to that entity. You are on their terms and conditions. You are beholden to them. You've had to submit your 2 years of financials and one of your kidneys and your firstborn and whatever else, whatever other red tape they put before you. You're bleeding out interest dollars, capitalizing that entity that you don't own and control. You're not receiving dividends from that bank. Whereas in becoming your own banker, you're beholden to no one. It's you becoming your own banker. And you privately control and own a system of policies that can help you satisfy your need of finance over the course of your lifetime. Again, it's not overnight. We started with one policy, and then we systematically built on that system over the past several years. And what I would say for those that pay cash for everything, you're losing. You're losing. What it is that you're losing, I'm not calling you a loser, but what you're losing is the opportunity to earn on your money. See, when you save up cash, you have to build that up for whatever it is you're going to do. Take a vacation, buy business equipment, anything. You save up, and again, you're putting it somewhere where someone has the use of that money. If it's in a bank, the bank is using your money that whole time. And all the business and all the revenue and all the profits and all the dividends that they're creating for themselves, they don't share that with you. So you're building up, you're saving, you're setting aside. And that's better than conventionally financing. At least you're not paying interest dollars. And what I would point out there is if the bank is paying you any form of interest, you're taxed on that as well. So just interesting to recognize and know and understand. But you save and you accrue and you amass. And then what do? You liquidate it all for whatever that thing is. And again, that's better than conventionally financing, but you've just liquidated it all. And the whole time while you were amassing that, you lost out on the opportunity to earn the same way that you could have. Whereas if you are paying premiums into a policy that compounds without interruption, those premium dollars compound without interruption, and yet you can borrow against the cash values of your policy that you privately own for your need for finance, and then you can still go out and do the exact same thing that you're doing anyway, still take the vacation, still buy the business equipment, whatever it was. Isn't that the best of both worlds? I'm saying get past the mysticism of the title, the novelty of becoming your own banker. I thought it sounded great too when I first heard it, but I didn't know what it was. I had to read the book. I had to ask questions. I had to find out more and go through my process. So I encourage you, along your way and your process. And if I can be a help, then you can reach me at 828-817-4223, or you can email Durham Talents. I hope that this has been a big help to you. I've enjoyed it immensely. I look forward to our next conversation. Have a great day. Take care.
Hello and welcome. My name is Jesse Durham. Today we will be revealing the deep, dark, and mystic secrets of the rich and wealthy.